All right, Aidan, it's time for interview or episode number 7 of Birds vs. Boys Hate Week. And we are joined by not one, but 2 former guests of the show, RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys and BLG from Bleeding Green Nation. Gentlemen, welcome back. It's Hate Week. How are you both?
I feel wonderful. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I love everybody that's on this call right now, and I just want good things for all people in the world and the universe.
Look at that. See, that's the type of people we are, BLG.
I mean, he had to go first because, his team's not first in the division standings like the Eagles are, but it's fine. I want to give you guys credit as I did before because I kind of feel bad in hindsight because I was like, oh, man, RJ and I thought we were so cool inventing a podcast with there's an Eagles fan and a Cowboys fan, and you guys were definitely before us. So I just want to make that clear. You guys did it first. In theory, we're a little different because, we do the whole division and like sometimes, we bring on people, as I'm sure from time to time you guys do, from the other teams as well. But yeah.
Just to be clear, y'all came up with this idea first, but we came up with NFC Beast and NFC Leaks. We have trademarked those particular names. Those belong to us.
You got the little R trademark symbol right there. Nice.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, speaking of trademarks, we're going to trademark Hate Week, but I want to feel the vibes from you guys, and we'll start with BLG since you guys are first in the division. What's the juice still around this game? Obviously, this was a massive game. We all thought the Cowboys kind of didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and now Jalen Hurts, is he playing? Is he not? It's still a Christmas Eve game. So, what are your feelings on the juice and the vibes heading into this game?
Certainly doesn't have the juice it would if the Cowboys were able to hold on against the Jags because that's a really important game where if the Eagles don't beat the Cowboys on Christmas at that point, then they have to win both of their last 2 games. So, that took a lot of the juice out of it. But I mean, I still think Eagles fans are like super juiced about this game. It's a chance to get the 1 seed with 2 weeks left to go in the regular. It's huge. It's massive. So, and also I think there's a little, intrigue level with Gardner Minshew likely starting. I would put the chances of Jalen Hurts playing it probably like, single digits. I don't think it's likely. I think they're saying he might just because number one, that's part of like Jalen Hurts' persona. His brand is like he's tough. He's like you can never count him out. And there's a gamesmanship angle, and there's also the angle of I think the team kind of wants to downplay the concern of the injury over the long term. So they're going to be like, well, he might be able to play this week, but I don't think he will.
Fair enough. RJ, how about you from the Cowboys perspective?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like prior to the Hurts news, this game already kind of lost all the win from its sales. It technically has matter, technically has significance. The Eagles, I think, have I told Brandon, a more financial interest to play for, obviously, with the 1 seed and the division, right? The Cowboys can't secure those things or anywhere close to that. I think the Cowboys have more pride to play for coming off of the loss. And so, like, you can measure that however you want. And you can assess the risk value of maybe losing to Gardner Minshew if it does come down to that, right? Like it's part of what makes this really weird and really wonky. But yeah, I mean, this had the makings of like, okay, Cowboys are going to finally, respond the way they do under Mike McCarthy and kind of let everybody know what's up. But Brandon termed it a no-win situation. I wouldn't put it that way, but even if they beat the Eagles, I think there will be a lot of like, well, so what? It was the backup. It was Gardner. It's just it's awkward. I wouldn't call it juiceless necessarily. I would call it awkward and strange in form.
Awkward's a good. I think that's the first time we heard that word used, but I kind of like that.
RJ also literally called it juiceless for our promo for NFC's mixtape.
Well, I mean, that was the title of the
episode,
but I've had time to think on it.
Which you came up with. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
But it was earlier in the week before we started all these interviews. I was like texting Aidan about that. I was like, I think I've like. He's like, do not say that. You can't tweet
say that on air.
Anything about that as I say it on air.
Well, my big thing is this, and RJ, we talked about in the mixtape this week. It's like we're so overdue for a week 1 Eagles Cowboys game. It hasn't happened since like early 2000s, might be like 2000 might be, or 2001, 2002, like really early 2000s. It's just crazy. Like, let's get a guaranteed, most likely game that matters.
I would love that.
And they've done week 1 Cowboys Giants so many times. I feel like we played Washington week 1 a few times. Yeah, it's due. Maybe next year, because if we play again in the playoffs, I'm sure, and have a trilogy this year, it'd be awesome. So we talked about this game. It's kind of juiceless, and we're kind of, if the Eagles win one more and the Cowboys are kind of mathematically almost locked into their spot too. So this game might not mean much. Now, Kevin's not the most positive Cowboys fan. RJ, I feel like you're a more positive guy. So
delusional,
looking past this game.
Interrupting everybody, Brandon is. I'm sorry on behalf of my co-host. Like, we're supposed to be kind and courteous. We're coming to your house, and Brandon's just like taking his shoes off and eating your food.
Oh, please!
It's really embarrassing.
This is a shoeless house.
It's called Hate Week.
Yeah, you don't have to take the shoes off at the door. So, just like looking at the Cowboys right now, I feel like people are down, but at the same time, they're still going to be in the playoffs. What do they need to do to make a deep playoff run? What steps would you like them to take these next few weeks that would lead you to believe they could make an NFC Championship?
Well, I'm generally really pessimistic. I mean, at the beginning of this season, I don't know anybody who was harder on the team than I was. And I think, they've been really impressive. I think that they have, I've termed it as earning the benefit of the doubt. And that's kind of where I'm at with them, right? Like, okay, this is the moment to doubt. Like, you earned this mulligan. I'm willing to, afford you some length, some leniency. You blew a 17-point lead in Jacksonville. That's tough, but you had a 17-point lead, right? Like, it's not to say you deserve credit or anything like that, but their biggest issue right now is health, and some of that can be addressed over time, right? Leighton Vander Esch can get healthy. Micah Parsons can maybe kind of get a little bit more strength back under his legs. You can't get Anthony Brown back, and so you got to kind of survive. That's life in the NFL. That's life in December around Christmas time. Is you have to be able to figure out a way, and they've proven that, right? They went 4-1 without Dak Prescott. They lost the ultimate player on their team. And so now that's the lone level of interest I really have in this game is how do you guard AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, even with Gardner Minshew? What does that look like? I mean, are you going to bench Kelvin Joseph outright? Are you going to rely on Deshaun Wright? Is anybody able to step up? But it is a really strange, kind of world they're in where they can effectively lock up the 5 seed. You said it. If they win on Sunday and they're the favorites, right? If things go chalk, if they win and Minnesota beats the Giants, then all Philly has to do is lock everything up. And they locked Dallas into the 5 seed. And so that sets up an interesting scenario for the Giants and Commanders in Week 18, which I know wasn't your question. But it adds to the weird intrigue that is associated with every single team in this division being good this particular season.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There is a lot of intrigue, even though it's juiceless, as we say. But RJ, so you mentioned linebacker, you mentioned cornerback. Obviously, 2 personnel situations where there's an issue. So I want to know what you would do. What are you going to do at linebacker with LVE out? Is Cox your answer? Is Micah switching to linebacker? And what's your plan to fix the CB2 position if there is a way to fix that position this late?
I don't think you can convince Micah not to play, and I don't think you want him to not play for 3 weeks. But you know what, Micah? If you don't want to rush the passer, Nick Bosa's already kind of taken Defensive Player of the Year. Maybe you do drop back these next 3 weeks. Maybe you do help kind of shore things up and kind of give everybody else a bit of a boost. I don't know that that's like a full-time answer, but I think it's probably the best one right now, this week, today. So that would be my approach, because I love Anthony Barr. He's been solid for the Cowboys, but he just can't hang on. I mean, that's really just kind of what this is about. As far as CB2, I mean, they don't have an option, right? Like, okay, cool. They signed Kendall Sheffield a month ago. Like, that's really going to save everything. Trayvon Mullins is going to save everything. You just have to. Everybody, I love Dan Quinn, but everybody thinks he walks on water and he's perfect and he's infallible. Okay, Dan Quinn, you built the Legion of Boom. You're this great defensive coordinator. You were part of the staff that oversaw the drafting of Kelvin Joseph in the 2nd round and Deshaun Wright in the 3rd round. Now's the time. Like, this is what you asked for. So execute. This falls on Dan Quinn.
And a second note to that. What are your thoughts? Because I know mine. I want to keep him inside. Some people want to move Deron Bland outside to that spot. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I would like to leave Deron inside. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be a successful rookie corner in the NFL, and he's found a niche that he can do that at. So, I mean, I don't want to risk that, for the purposes of saving what's going on outside. I don't want to create another problem by trying to solve one.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's like a classic whack-a-mole situation there. Let's flip over to the Eagles a little bit. BLG, last week, I think the game plan featured about 184 deep shots in 20 degrees and wind. Do you think the coaching staff this week says to themselves, all right, we were overly aggressive. Our quarterback got hurt. We're playing with our backup. Let's rein it in. Or do you think they say, nope, full steam ahead against a defense that just gave up 500 yards?
Yeah, I think it's full. I think it's the latter. I think it's full steam ahead. I mean, I don't know what vertical shots with Gardner Minshew look like the way I do with Jalen Hurts. Certainly, that's not like necessarily a strength of Gardner's, I would say, his arm strength and everything. But they're getting Dallas Goedert back. That's huge. Dallas Goedert had one of the best games and second highest yardage total, his only multi-touchdown game of his career with Minshew last year when Minshew had to play against the Jets. And obviously the Jets have a very bad defense, or at least did back then. So that's part of it. But Minshew looked good, and that connection to Goddard seemed like a real thing. And I mean, you guys talked about the cornerback issues for Dallas. I think that's arguably the biggest mismatch in this game, and so atypical of previous Eagles Cowboys matchups for years, where you look at the Eagles wide receivers, and you're like, oh wow, we have the advantage here, and you flip it around on the other side of the ball, and you're like Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Yeah, I like our chances against the Cowboys wide receivers. CD's still good, but as the totality of it, you'll take the Eagles group. So yeah, I think it's going to be a game where, with Dallas struggling much as they are with that second cornerback spot, I mean, Devontae just had a huge game. AJ Brown had to just target them all game long and honestly just make the Cowboys prove they can stop it.
Yep. Yeah, I get flashbacks to that game where Rasul Douglas was hanging on for dear life covering Amari Cooper and that overtime win for the Cowboys. Hopefully we can flip the script this time around, because that game will live in infamy for sure.
So, RJ, what do you think? How do you think they handle the offensive line this week? Do you think it's the same sort of rotation like it was at right tackle, or do you think they're going to kind of try to lock in? Because they moved the ball better when Tyron Smith was in there.
Yeah, I mean, again, they lost, and so that kind of ruined it. But like the goal seemed to be, all right, let's use Jacksonville as some sort of like warm up, ramp up period, because the Philly game is call it important, consequential, measuring stick, whatever. It's no disrespect to the Jaguars, but the Philly game is a much bigger deal to the Cowboys. And that's not to say they were looking ahead, but it's just the math of it all. So yeah, I think that they're committed to the cause. They have 3 weeks to probably 2 weeks if things do go kind of the way we all think, right? I mean, I don't know that you would even play Tyron in a Week 18 game that is meaningless at Washington. So you have 2 weeks to really effectively kind of make sure this is what you want. Maybe Jason Peters plays a bit. Obviously, the Cowboys are going to blow the Eagles out. So maybe some like garbage time situation with Cooper Rush in the game. But yeah, I think this is your offensive line with Tyron at right tackle. It's a weird world, but it's the one that we live in nonetheless.
It is a weird world. It's also sort of a weird world with this game being on Christmas Eve. So, question for both of you, BLG. I'll start with you. How are you watching this game Christmas Eve? Family around? Is it just on in the background? Are you completely locked in? I mean, like, how are we doing this?
Yeah, so I'll be at my parents' house, visiting the family and having a good time, and probably just in my old childhood bedroom and just watching the TV, locked in. And yeah, it's at 4:25 Eastern, so probably try to get either a really early dinner or late lunch going on. So I'm good for the game. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm pumped. It might be juiceless for some, but I'm really looking forward to this game.
It is still hate week, right? It's still Cowboys Eagles. There's still a lot on the line. So I agree. RJ, how are you watching this game? How are you going to be locked in?
So I'll be at home, obviously, and be set up here in the office for our post game show. That's just kind of my normal routine. But yeah, just kind of enjoying it with the family. I told you guys last time, my wife and I, we have a 1-year-old. And he was born the night before Thanksgiving last year, but he spent the first 2 months of his life in the NICU. So we spent Christmas, in the NICU at the hospital. And so very different experience. And so we're really excited to kind of open gifts with him and do all the kind of conventional classic things, and really thankful for that opportunity. So it sucks that the game is juiceless, but in a weird way, it provides a little bit, more of an opportunity to focus on that and what, we're excited is his first Christmas at home.
Oh yeah, that's for me, for sure, because I have a 10-month-old and I'm married to an Eagles fan, and I'm going to be at her parents' house who are all Eagles fans. So it's like, all right, is this really my daughter's first Christmas here? Is surrounded by you people? But yeah, it's the life I chose, I guess.
Just enjoy the quality time that we get with family, I guess.
Sure.
All right. Question for you guys, just looking ahead beyond this game. So if everything holds, we'll probably be the 1 seed, Cowboys probably the 5 seed. And if everything goes chalk in the wild card round, we're looking at a trilogy. We'll play each other again for a third time. Looking at the other wild card teams, who do you think is most likely to ruin that situation and pull an upset on wild card weekend?
I think I can answer for both of us, RJ.
Yeah.
We're going to say this. We're the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're surging. So I think the Vikings are probably going to get the number 2 seed, and we've seen the Lions beat the Vikings, and by a lot of different metrics like point differential, DVOA, any kind of that stuff, Lions are better. And I think they've been a lot better recently. I think they're certainly more competitive and more threatening than their overall record indicates right now. And there's no guarantee they make the playoffs. But if they do, I think, they're a dangerous team.
I would only couch that, and I haven't even said this to Brandon, but obviously if the Vikings lose a game, they lose pace with the 49ers for the 2 seed in the wild card. And as far as like seeding in the NFC is concerned. And so that could ruin this. Like that could, because we all like Detroit, but they're not winning at San Francisco. And so that, in all likelihood, they're at least we're less confident in them beating the 49ers than the Vikings. And so that could really change the calculus. I think it is contingent on a Lions victory in Minnesota. I would like to see the Lions visit the Eagles in the divisional round, and that would probably send Dallas to San Francisco, which would just be all sorts of fun and terrifying.
I have the meme again of just like the dog with the airplanes and the helicopters thinking about playing the 49ers in the playoffs again.
That door opens with that stereo again. Oh
God. No, thank you.
That was a wild scene.
All right, before we get you out of here, we're asking every single person that we interview this week this same question. So I'll start with you, RJ. In a few sentences, what does this rivalry mean to you?
I think that is a good question for people who are our age. I don't know exactly how old you guys are. I know Brandon's age and his social and his like tax information. So,
feel free to share.
Yeah, if you're, I don't know, even 40 or younger, it's the rivalry. Like there's, there have been like some Eagles Giants moments, some Cowboys Commanders moments, but like I do think that Cowboys and Eagles fans are more online too than any other rivalry members, and so that kind of adds to it. Like everybody's sort of a pocket away from discourse and dysfunction. And so it's frustrating in that, the Cowboys are still in this drought and the Eagles have a Super Bowl. Like that one thing, that you always kind of had over them is now gone forever, unless you're an Astros fan like I am. But yeah, I mean, it's the quintessential, it's the rivalry of our lifetimes, I think. And that's not just within the division. I think that's across like all teams in the NFL. I know that everybody has like kind of a soft rivalry with different teams. And that's why I know you said a few sentences. I would be terrified. I want, if like in my like dream or my like dream story, the Cowboys do head to Philly in the divisional round, because and I don't want it in the title game. I want it in that round, because that's the round Dallas can't get over. That's the hump, right? That's the thing. That's what every Eagles fan loves to say, right? Like, oh, you can't make a conference title game. It would be epic to celebrate that accomplishment there, of all places, and then go to San Francisco like it all started and win the NFC Championship there.
Oh God, I love it. And it's true that these fan bases are the most online. I've dubbed this game the Twitter Bowl, because that's what this is. It's Twitter bragging rights. How about you, BLJ?
For me, I'll take you through each team, and I guess in the division, kind of how it differs. So for me, growing up where I did more in, the PA, New Jersey area, definitely a different kind of relationship with Giants fans. Like Giants fans, that kind of always felt more like a brotherly rivalry to me. It's like, you're going to give each other a hard time, but there's some kind of respect there, I guess, in part because you're from the same part of the country. So you have that in common, and you get it because like, okay, we're kind of in an area where it makes sense that you would be a Giants fan, especially on the New Jersey side of things. Whereas, and Washington fans to me, and this might differ from people who are more from the DMV area, but that's just never really been, I don't even know. I can't name, I don't have like a Washington fan like in my life. Obviously I know people from Hogs Haven and stuff and online, but like no one actually in my life was like a big Washington fan. So that's just always kind of felt like whatever to me. But the Cowboys, you get Cowboys fans in Philly. It's like, the cockroaches who, it's just like the contrarians. Yeah, of course. I know you. Exactly. Case in point. Where it's just like, where does this come from?
on this show.
Well, like, there it is. No, I'm not calling him. I call the concept of that, because it's just like, where is this coming from? It's whatever. Contrarian.
Don't you root for Chelsea, Brandon? Are you from London?
Yeah, but that's because I was playing a FIFA demo, and
well, how do you know Kevin wasn't playing Madden?
That's what I was doing.
Yeah. I used to play.
I was very big into Madden.
Okay, fine, but it's still terrible. Anyway, so yeah, I mean that, and also take you to Sunday where Eagles-Bears game. I think Aidan can back me up here. It wasn't like didn't have a ton of juice to it. It wasn't like the most exciting, thrilling game. But like seeing the Cowboys lose to Doug Peterson of all people, like that was exciting. That was thrilling. That was fun. That was exciting. Sometimes it can be it's more exciting to watch the Cowboys lose than it is the Eagles win sometimes.
Oh my
God.
It's
true.
The obsession that Eagles fans have.
You
guys are obsessed with the obsession thing. It's not
Kevin,
an
can
obsession.
you put that in
you love that people are obsessed with you.
I know. Why do you love it? It's a rivalry.
You love being obsessed with
us. It's a rivalry. It's what makes football fun. How is that like lame? It's like you guys are so lame.
That energy is one way. Like, it's a rivalry. I have no qualms admitting that. But like this, I would never in my life be more excited about an Eagles loss than a Cowboys win. Ever.
Well, that was like I'm not going to mention who it is, but during the Cowboys game this week and the Eagles game, a certain content creator for the Eagles and focuses on Philly, all of a sudden just tweets, "There's the Dak interception," and all I did was tweet underneath. I go, "Aren't the Eagles on? Like, why are we worrying about a Dak interception when the Eagles are in a one-possession game with the Bears?" I don't know.
This was a low moment for you, Brandon.
I mean, we only the capacity to do one thing at a time.
This is the lowest moment I've ever seen from him, and it happened on your show. So
you're welcome, RJ.
I'm on his side, but I agree with his take as well. I think you guys enjoy the attention that comes with us being like, "Oh, look what happened in the Cowboys game! I can't believe they lost."
Little brother,
love that primetime attention.
Little brother. For a team that has not gone to the championship game since 19.
Then why are you so obsessed? If that's true,
we're nobody.
Because it's fun to see how much you fail.
That's stupid. Like, you can't have it both ways.
You can't have fun. Sorry, having fun. That's a bad thing.
Zero fun, sir.
Because if it was any other team who hadn't made a championship game in my whole lifetime at age 27, they wouldn't be on primetime every week. Their quarterback wouldn't be doing sleep number commercials on every commercial break, but yet we still get it jammed down our throat.
Wow.
And it's like, all right, I have to pay attention to them because everyone in the national media says that I have to. Every week, every show starts with, "Oh, what did the Cowboys do?" I'm like, there's better.
Don't watch Get Up.
I don't.
There you go. Problem solved.
That's where it comes from.
I will say that. It was enlightening.
I think this was definitely our best answer for that question because it was the first time that we could get that sparring back and forth for us.
RJ, I will get that clip to you immediately.
I love you, Kevin.
All right, boys. Before we get you out of here, you mentioned the mixtape. Let everybody know where they can follow you on Twitter, how they can read, how they can listen, how they can watch. BLG, we'll start with you.
Okay. You can follow me at Brandon Gowton on Twitter and Instagram, and bleedinggreennation.com is the place to go for all the articles and written content, and then obviously the Bleeding Green Nation podcast feed and YouTube channel where you can also watch the NFC's mixtape. We get some good YouTube comments, I feel like, and we get some good other comments too. And one last thing on the rivalry part of it all, it's fun, and this ties into the mixtape, just how many people you can tell are engaged with the show based on when like the Cowboys lose against the Jags, and everyone's like, "Oh, I can't wait for the podcast this week." Or even when the Eagles lost to the Commanders, Cowboys fans were like, "Oh, I can't wait for BLG to take this one on the chin." So it's fun. It's all about having fun at the end of the day, and we have a good time.
Amen.
Yeah. So our worlds are really similar, Brandon and I. bloggingtheboys.com. You can search for Blog on the Boys anywhere you get podcasts or videos or social things like that. I'm RJ Ochoa on Twitter and Instagram. Somebody had that on TikTok, so I had to go with RJ.Ochoa. I'm really upset about it. But yeah, our YouTube channel has a little bit more activity than the Bleeding Green Nation one. And we will be doing actually a special live edition of the NFC's mixtape as Thursday Night Football starts. So that can be accessed live on the BTB YouTube channel, but we will throw it up on the BGN one as well. And just to echo Brandon, things like this, things like y'all show and what we have experienced with the mixtape make the rivalry more fun. I hate the Eagles more. This is our second season doing the mixtape. Because of this, because of the kinship and the relationship. And that's why I was terrified when the Astros played the Phillies in the World Series, because I was like, if they lose to the Phillies, like, it is my worlds colliding in every way, shape, or form. But they embarrassed them, thankfully, for the frauds that they are, in the mighty Citizens Bank Park.
I'm sure they didn't.
Amazing, whatever.
Didn't feel like that Game 3.
But anyway, yeah, I'm weirdly excited, but also not excited and bummed and hopeful that the next time these two teams meet, whether it's in the playoffs or not, is more fun and more intense. Brandon and I normally do a bet, based on this, some sort of social bet. We haven't done anything. Do you have any ideas for what we should do for this week?
I don't want to finalize anything here before just you say something, but we're taking ideas. Yes, I want to.
Yes. Yeah, like this is soliciting.
We're brainstorming. Yeah.
It's an awkward week, as we all said, but given the circumstances, what would you think is fair?
I would say whoever wins gets to take over the other account.
Yeah, that's what blogging the boys for a week. Want. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that does happen to RJ. Last week it was Nick Bosa. Yeah, that was nobody moment. Listens to the tweet underneath. It says read the whole tweet. Yeah,
that was really rough. I like that idea. Brandon has had to change his Twitter profile picture several times because of lost bets. Once to the Blog on the Boys logo, and once to Jeremy Pena, World Series MVP, having beaten the Phillies. So
I think those type of things are good because RJ, I did get that tweet of yours sent to me by 4 different people.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. Shout out to David Fucillo, who ruined my life.
So that any kind of thing like that with social media is always good, especially since you guys aren't close. Last year, Aidan and I were locked in a boxing ring in Atlantic City for the first Cowboys-Eagles game. So that was very fun for me. That was a great time. We were live. That was a good time.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
That's the only Dak Hurts game we've gotten to date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cowboys demolished the Eagles. Interesting how that works, huh?
Well, hopefully we see that again
since then,
in the playoffs. All right, boys. Well, enjoy. Merry Christmas. RJ, I hope you have a better Christmas than BLG. And maybe we'll do this again in the playoffs if these 2 teams collide once again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.